What's up? Welcome to Pacific Northwest. I'm Justin Davis. Today I have something that you might be interested in if you've been looking on the internet for an AT style carbon fiber electric longboard, something you can take on-road or off-road. This is kind of an alternative to something like the Evolve Carbon Fiber GT edition board. It starts about $1,800 to get started with the Evolve boards. Very nice, but they do have some pros and cons just like any other board out there. This one is called the Raldey AT carbon fiber electric off-road board as well, and this one has a little bit larger tires. It has the same type of 3,000 watt motors in the back. They are both brushless and belt driven. They also have the non-inflatable no pop tires on here that are 7.5 inches tall or around 195 millimeters. This board comes in two different battery types. You can get the 7AH, which will get you about 9 miles on a charge. It charges up in about 3 hours. And they have the $1,000 version of this board, which will get you an upwards of 25 miles on a single charge in about 3 hours time. That battery is the 14AH edition. That one is just a little bit more expensive, but well worth it because you get about twice the range. And I have to say, if you've never ridden a carbon fiber AT board before, the all-terrain boards ride about 10 times better than your typical standard street edition of longboard because there's tons of vibration on your feet. If you do any type of range riding or you go on these group rides, these boards get a lot more fatigue on your feet. Your feet start to hurt after about 5 or 6 miles with those boards and a lot of carving. The nicest thing about this is that this is a nice soft and plush ride, and it has tons of clearance on the bottom of the board for any type of debris on road or off road. And also the carbon fiber on this board is hand polished at the Raldey factories. They are individually polished by a guy, and I'll try to show you some video here of this guy polishing this deck by hand. It's nice because it is also Japanese carbon fiber. It's Japanese T700 carbon fiber. Super nice and beautiful when you pull it out of the box. This board also has much wider trucks. It has a 10-inch wide truck, so it gives you a little more stability off-road and when you're making those hard turns. They're way out from the deck, so you don't get wheel bite when you're going back and forth. If you tighten up the trucks enough, you will not get wheel bite. If you're a heavier rider over 200 pounds, it does have dual kingpins on the bottom of this, and you have to tighten up both of those trucks to avoid wheel bite. There was another guy on one of the forums that got wheel bite really bad on his Raldey board, but the problem is that if you don't tighten up the trucks from the factory, it is possible that you get wheel bite. So make sure that you tighten up the trucks before you take out your first ride and test it yourself on the street right in front of your house before you take any really hard turns with this board. And also the max weight on the Raldey board is around 280 pounds, whereas the Carbon GT, it only accepts around 220 pounds max weight on that board. So this one can carry a much heavier rider. And since we are in Oregon, I did test it on bike trails, and I was able to get up a 25% grade on this board, no problem, on bike paths, on grass, across fields, and on and off the sidewalk, wherever I wanted to go with this board. That's the nicest versatility about any type of AT board, is that you can go places that you can't traditionally go with your typical longboard with the harder style wheels. You're just not going to go through the grass with these boards. But what I'm most excited about is the fact that this one is around $900 cheaper than the popular Carbon GT. This one also has a fully encompassed deck. The battery is inside here. It is also a fire safe battery with a 20 amp ESC bursting up to 50. So I did test that out and really push this board. I thought maybe in some of the situations I might blow this ESC up, but it held true in all the testing that I did. And you're gonna see some of that footage coming up. The other thing about this board is the fact that when I did go on the ride, I talked to some Carbon GT Evolve riders. One of the guys was complaining that he liked his Evolve GT like everybody does, but the problem was that there were some open spaces on the deck where sand and rocks and debris can get inside the deck, so he was constantly picking out sand and debris out of his deck. This board is totally enclosed from front to back, so I don't ever have to get any type of rocks or debris out of this board or go picking things out of the deck, which is a really nice thing about this board. It also has drop-through trucks on front and back, so it does have a little bit better ride than your traditional standard mount truck. And I did read on the Raldey website that they do test each board. They test it for about 3.5 hours, fully running both of the motors in the back and the gear system to make sure that these boards are going to perform before they're shipped out. They also have a 365-day warranty on these boards, which is nice. So any manufacturer defects coming from the factory that might happen to your board, it is covered by Raldey, and they will replace any of the electronics or components inside the board. And it also said down at the very bottom that they're doing free shipping to around 68 different countries. But I think what I was most impressed with about this board is the fact that it does ride better than any of my other 12 longboards that I have in my shop. This is my first AT board ever. I've been skating since I was a little kid, and I've rode electric longboards since the E-Glide boards that came out in California around 2005 or so. They had huge like lawnmower batteries across the bottom. This one does not have any batteries hanging down on the bottom, so when you're riding it off-road, it doesn't have something to catch on sticks or roots in the bike path. This is kind of nice that you have all of this clearance, and it rides, again, better than any board I own now. So when I'm taking this one out on the street even, this one doesn't feel all the bumps and cracks and big potholes and stuff like your typical street board will. So this is just way better, smoother on the street and off-road. But I could sit here and compare this board to the Carbon GT all day long. But the simple fact is that if you're looking for a board that's going to be about $900 cheaper and you want to have that on-road or off-road experience, this one is pretty easy bet. I mean, $900 is just an awesome deal. So let's take this board outside. Let me show you what it does on the street and off-road as well. I think you're going to be impressed with what it can do for the price. Here we go. All right, racers ready. We're going to count down 3, 2, 1, go. Dude, this board dusted those guys on the road boards. Yo, this board is so fast. So fast. So now let me show you some of the riding footage that I got. I have a ton more footage and I couldn't put it all in this video, but we took this board everywhere. I had it for about 40 days so far. It went completely up this mountain right here. After we did our drag race, we decided to take a ride up the mountain. The road boards did good, but the AT seemed to have kind of more power going uphill. It had a lot more throttle available than the other street boards did. So we started to wonder if the road board could do what the AT board can do. And obviously, it's gonna be bad. Well, probably not.
Oh, my bad shoulder.
Boom. Alright, we're gonna have to take him to the ER. So yeah, don't try that at home. It's not the smartest thing in the world. But I gotta say, out of all of my boards, this is hands down my favorite board right now. It's the nicest looking board, it rides the best, and it probably gets just as much range as some of my other boards. This is the longer edition. I have the 7AH version in here, and I was getting close to 20 miles on my charge, doing a little bit of light off-road. And I gotta tell you that also, if I was to choose out of all the other boards I have 12 road boards, and this one is the one I'm gonna take out, just because if I want to go ride some open parks somewhere where there's bike trails, I can ride through deep grass with this board, and I can go downhill or uphill. It has plenty of power. I'm about 150 pounds, so anyone riding between 150 pounds and 200 pounds, you're still going to be able to make it through even light mud like this. The board did get wet. I tested it in light and dry conditions, even up over hills, like little wood pile right there. We worked on donuts, riding it uphill in the gravel and over bridges, and on that 50-person plus e-board ride, that was a super awesome experience downtown with the Portland e-board crew. They usually have rides, I believe it's every Friday night. You can get up with them on their Facebook and check them out. Most of those guys are super friendly, and they have all kinds of electric vehicles out on the ride. It's really awesome. You got the one wheels, you've got these guys riding the unicycles, there's road boards, and some people bring AT boards, and I did see some Carbon GT boards there as well. So I'd like to give a shout out to these guys for being so friendly on this ride. That was a lot of fun. I think I'll go back for another ride, but for now I'm going to enjoy this board out on the open trails
and it's just like a whole new experience for me that I'm really enjoying. So I hope to get a second board soon so that I can take a buddy out riding on some of these trails and explore some of Oregon. Thanks again for watching, you guys. 4.8 stars out of 5 for this board. It is absolutely epic, and I would pick one up for sure. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.